Hey there, you're watching Wildflower Video Tips. I'm Lindsay Moe. Today I'm going to show you how I edit a recipe video from start to finish. I am so excited for today's video. I've been working on it for a long time. This is the big one. I'm going to show you how I edit a recipe video every step of the way. You're going to see everything from how I lay my clips out, to color correction, to audio levels and music. It's a lot. I know it's a super long video, but I really hope you find it helpful. I know I personally love just watching other people's process and how they work and learning from it. Definitely take from it what works for you. If you prefer to do something a different way, that's totally fine. This is just how I do it, and I hope that you'll be able to pick something useful out of it. I have linked timestamps down below to show you where you can jump in the video to different spots that might interest you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe. That really helps other people find my channel and helps me continue to share these great tips with you. So without further ado, let's dive in. All right. Today we're going to edit a recipe video from start to finish. So I am starting in my template project. I have another video where I talk about how to create a template project for yourself. I definitely recommend you do that. It saves a ton of time. You can see over here on the left I have 4 sequences set up and 3 bins. I'm actually going to change these bins a little bit. I'm going to name this one Footage Camera A. And Footage Camera B. And then these are just little extras that I have that I'm always using. I'm actually going to change the color of this one. I also have another video about using bins and how to color code if you're interested in seeing that. So I'm going to go ahead and import my footage by pressing Command I. And I'm just going to go grab my camera B footage and drag it into the other folder. You can see camera B starts right here. And I'm going to color code the footage to match the bin. Now what I'm going to do is save my project under a new name so that I'm not creating anything in this template project. If you don't have a template project, you could definitely start out with a new project. You would give it a title, tell it where to go. I'm going to File, Save As. And this video is for fettuccine Alfredo. Now that we have this all set up, I'm going to start going through my camera A footage. I double click on it to bring it into the source monitor, and I have my 16:9 sequence brought up here in the timeline. I'm going to bring my playhead all the way to the beginning by either dragging or pressing the up arrow. And then I'm going to use L to start shuttling through the footage. And I'm using my left and right arrows to move forward or backwards by just 1 frame, and I and O to set in and out points, and then period to drop it into the timeline. I did not record audio with this video, So it is only dropping video in. If I had audio associated, it would drop that on A1. If I had audio recorded and I didn't want to include it, I could just lock this layer and it would only drop the video. This happens to be a very easy recipe to make and edit. There are only a few ingredients. So hopefully I won't have you here too long seeing exactly how I work my process. I've been trying to create these slower, tasty style videos where you don't need to see every little thing. It's just putting the ingredients in, stirring it up, and some nice beauty shots. I find that I prefer no more than 2 seconds per clip in a recipe video. It just gets to be a little monotonous. So I'm choosing a few portions of the stirring to kind of get the idea. And now that I see that I zoomed in there, I'm gonna make sure I don't show this spoon coming out. I actually don't really like this clip very much at all, so I'm going to go over here and choose the slide tool, or I'm sorry, the slip tool. I have another video about how to use slip slide and rate stretch in your recipe videos, and you can see it just adjusts the portion of the clip that I'm using. So we no longer have the utensil coming out of the dish. We can just then cut to this close-up, and I'm going to press V to go back to the selection tool, come out here and press the up arrow to move to the end so that I can be ready to add another clip here. I really like these close-up sort of, I don't know, food porny type. You really get into it and it makes you want to eat it. That clip got a little long, but I liked it, obviously. And I actually feel like a clip of that would make a great video for Instagram, so I might come back and cut that later. But this is just a rough cut. I'm just putting the footage together, getting the recipe laid out, and then we can come back and tidy it up a bit. So that's pretty much the whole recipe. I have my camera B footage of another angle and the hero shots, so I think this is going to be a very quick video. I didn't even find that clip useful at all, so we're looking for more where we can just add some interest. A nice pasta pouring shot, I think, will be good. And to line this up, I'm just going to come back here and look for where the pasta is about to come out. Again, using my left and right arrows to move forward and backward a frame. And I'm just going to drag this onto V2 to make sure we're matching it up. You can see on the top of the screen the noodles are just a little bit in the pan, so that's not quite right. I would say it ends more right there. And that looks pretty good. We will keep going. So this clip starts just before it starts to turn back to the right. I think we're a few frames off here. This one's a little trickier to match up, but I think if we go right there. We'll check that. And we've got a little bit of extra here that we can get rid of. And then I'm just going to press A to grab everything to the right of it and pull it over just to close up that gap. And then V to go back to the selection tool. Again, I'm just trying to match up just how much cheese is coming out in that moment. That looks pretty good, but again, we have a tiny little tail there, and I'm going to press A, grab, and close it up. You could also ripple delete that if you wanted to control click and ripple delete. Two different options there. And I might swap out this second shot with some camera B footage. So let's see, try look for a nice stir shot there. As things are starting to thicken up. And I'm not sure I like the double stir there, so I might just come back to here, move that over, trim this down. I often like to keep my camera B footage in line on V1 with the camera A footage. But if you want to keep it up here on V2, that's totally fine, especially if you're not color coding. That'll help you keep track of it. But since I believe we're coming to the end of this clip, I'm just going to pull these down. The reason I like to do this is so when I add my titles, they're right above the video, and if you have a lot of titles, it keeps it from looking too busy or being hard to find. And we have one more clip here, which is the hero shot, which is very difficult with long cut pasta. Alfredo sauce was also especially difficult to shoot because it congeals so quickly. You want it to look creamy and beautiful in the video, and it's challenging. Okay, none of those looks too terrible, but none also looks really great. So I'm going to rewatch a couple of these later ones. Sometimes I'll pull a couple down and just watch them back to back. Kind of liked the first one because the pasta looked so nice. It just got too crazy though. Okay, so let's see which one we like better. That one's pretty neat and tidy. This one's a little wild and crazy. I think we'll probably go with this one. So I'm going to click on it, Command C to copy it, and then find its own space, Command V to paste it, and then A to enable the track select forward tool. Move that over, go back to V for the selection tool, and just grab one and bring it to the beginning. And then Control click to ripple delete all of these in. And this over here is just what I put at the end of all my videos, and I keep it in my template so I don't have to set it up with the timing and the transitions every time, and I can just ripple delete that over. So this is a very short video, which is totally fine. The next thing I like to do is rotate the footage and color correct. So I'm going to click on this and go to color. This is kind of a challenging one because there isn't a nice white spot that I can click on, but we can try. Nope, that looks terrible. So I might just cool it down a little bit. I find if you bring the exposure way up, it helps you see more of the colors. So obviously I don't want to leave it like this, but I might just adjust this a little cooler or warmer. It's feeling a little shadowy and harsh on the highlights, so I'm just going to adjust those. I don't often touch most of these, but this is kind of an exceptional challenge. And I find the light in the room where I'm editing makes a huge difference too. So a lot of times I'll adjust it and I'll be sure to come back and check it later just to make sure there wasn't a glare on the screen or a strange light in the room. Even just the time of day can change it. So it's good to have more than one look at it. And once it starts to look a little flat, I'm just going to bump up the contrast and pull down the blacks a bit. And then down here in Creative, I will often add a 10 to Sharpening, and over on the left in Effects, an Unsharp mask. And for that, up here in the Effects Controls, I changed the amount to 100, the radius to 0.6, and the threshold to 0.1. Now I can just click on this clip and Command C to copy it. And then I will go to the same one down here at the end and Option Command V to paste the settings. You can choose which ones you want to do. We don't actually have any motion effects, so it doesn't matter if that's checked or not. But you'll want to check the effects to get the same color and sharpening. I shoot these hero shots in natural light and my overheads in artificial light, so I give them each their own color correction. And like I said, I'm not convinced I'm totally happy with that right now. It looks a little hot in the middle, but I will come back to it later and double check it. So this one, we have a little bit of white we can start with. And I like to rotate these 180 degrees so that the viewer feels like they are the one that's cooking. Butter is always a challenge against these dark pans. It's coming in pretty hot, but it also moves very quickly, so I think it'll be okay. We will add the Unsharp mask to this one. And then copy and paste this onto the other camera A footage. And for this one, I do want to make sure the motion is checked so that it will rotate. And finally, I will color correct the camera B footage. I'm actually going to look for one that has some white in it. The eyedropper is really just a jumping off point. I don't recommend trusting it completely. This looks a little blue to me. I do have another video about how to color correct if you want to go a little deeper into that, and I have an advanced color correction coming soon if you want to know more about some of these other settings. If you wanted, you could also just control click on the Unsharp mask, copy it, and paste it onto the other clip if you don't want to go through dragging it over and adding the settings. But I just find it easiest to work this way. Everybody has their own process, and you'll definitely find your own way that works for you. Everybody's project always looks different. If you asked 10 editors to edit the same video, everyone would do it a different way. So this is what I enjoy and what works for me, and hopefully you can use that to learn a few things and find your own process that works for you. I should point out, if you have an older computer that you're editing on, you may need to render your project at this point in order to be able to play it back and make sure you like how it looks. I recently upgraded my computer, so it plays wonderfully without rendering, but if you need to render, you can just highlight a selection or set an in and out point, and then go up to sequence and choose what you would like to render. That'll take a few minutes, and it's just Adobe, compiling your footage and your effects and everything so that you can see how it looks. So let's make sure we're happy with the color correction. Again, my whites are a little hot, but it is very difficult with the white cheese and the dark background. Let's go back to the editing panel and add some titles. So like I was talking about in my template project, I have set up my most frequently used titles in the font that I like to use, and this really helps save time. I have another video about how to use titles in Premiere Pro. These are all legacy titles. You could definitely do it in the graphics panel, but when it comes time to adjust this to square, I find legacy titles to be far superior to the graphics panel just because of the resizing abilities. And I also forgot to name this sequence, so I'm going to name it Fettuccine Alfredo 16:9. This one is for Facebook. And you can set up any type of sequence you need in your template. These are the most commonly used, the 16:9. These two are both square, and the tall pin, which could be whatever size you like. Mine are 1080 by 2160. So for the titles, I need a new title for the title of the video. I usually like to keep my intros to about 4 seconds, so this one seems a little short. We'll see how it goes. And I have cross dissolve set as my default transition. I have another video about how to set default transitions if you are interested in that. So I can just highlight this and press Command D to set that transition. If you didn't have that set up, you could click over here and press Shift 7 to get into your effects panel. And that is under Video Transitions, Dissolve, Cross Dissolve. You would just drag it over. And if you wanted to adjust these in their duration, you can Control click and set transition duration and change it to however many frames you'd like. And that actually felt okay because this is a very short video and it's not a super long title. I might extend it just a little bit. See if there's any more on the front end we can grab. And Control click to ripple delete. This first ingredient is obviously butter. To get back to my titles, I can click over here and press Shift 1 to jump to my project. And then I have butter ready to go over here. I love having these snap right to the cuts. You can turn that off or on by pressing S on your keyboard. You can see it just will go anywhere then, but I'm usually matching them up to cuts in the video. If you're just getting started with your template projects, a good idea before you get started is to create all the titles that you'll need for this video in your template project, save it, and then save it as the actual video that you're working on, so it will have all of those ingredients ready for next time. And I think those are all the titles we need. I'm going to collapse this bin and go in and find some music by pressing Command I. I like to just listen through a few of the music clips that I have and try to find one that feels like the right mood for it. This recipe is quick and easy and comforting, so I want it to feel kind of fun and upbeat. So now that I have my music in my music bin, I can drag it over onto A1, and I will press C to enable the cut tool and just cut it right at the end. V to go back to selection, click on this clip over here and delete. And then on the end of all my videos, if I press Shift 7 to get back into my effects, I like to add a crossfade of constant power for just a few frames. It just helps ease it out. There are other ways you can do that as well. And you can go back and watch my video about how to adjust audio levels if you're interested in learning the alternatives to that. But it's just a quick and easy way. It doesn't make a huge difference whether you do this or not, because the videos are usually moving so quickly and moving into something else, but it just helps take the edge off. So let's go through and watch this and make sure everything looks good. That felt like a little too long to wait for that pasta. I wanted to see that the butter was melted, but I think we can see it if we cut this down a little bit. So after I cut that, I'm going to lock my audio layer so that I can ripple delete, and we will go back to watching. This heavy cream felt like a bit of a jump too. I'm not sure. I guess just because it looks exactly the same. and suddenly it's there. So it's probably fine. I can see over here on the right my audio is peeking out in the red, so I'm going to jump over to the audio panel and just pull A1 down. You have to unlock it first. I try to keep it out of the red. I usually peak around -6, but since this is kind of a fun song and there's no voiceover, I think we can get away with a little bit of orange. And pull it down just a little bit more. And that clip felt way too long. I'm kind of wishing now I had done another clip showing it getting plated, because that feels like a bit of a jump, but at this point it is too late, and I'm feeling like this is a little more red than we're seeing here. That's a nice white sauce, and then everything feels a little red. So I'm going to go back into the color and adjust it just a bit. That looks better. So now what I need to do is come and Command C to copy these settings, go back to the beginning clip, and I'm just going to erase the Lumetri color and the unsharp mask, and I can Option Command V to paste those back on there. So now those clips match, and I'm going to go back to the editing panel and just trim up my audio to match the end of the clip. And then I think we're good. So what I like to do is come out here past the end, press the up arrow once, the back arrow once, and O to set the out point. So now I'm also going to drag in all of the clips here, Command C to copy, and come over to my square version. I don't need these in there. I'm pressing the up arrow to get to the beginning and Command V to paste it. So I've called this one Facebook because I use the square version for Facebook. You could call it square or whatever you might use it for. And then I'm just going to kind of scrub through and make sure everything is still centered, that all the titles still fit. And actually this hero shot looks a little off. I want that right in the center, so I'm just going to click on that clip, go into Effects, and choose this first position number and just drag it over until it's where I want it to be. And I'm going to watch it to make sure it doesn't move throughout the clip. Nope, that looks pretty good. So I'm just going to take note of what number that is, 749, come to this end clip, which is the same, and change that one to the same position. And I'm going to do the same thing I did, up arrow, left arrow, O to set the out point. For this Instagram version, whoops, not what I wanted to do. I'm going to paste it again. This time I'm going to add an image to the first frame of this video. I find that adding a single frame of a photo kind of blends the video into my Instagram feed better than, you know, the lighting and the styling of a video is just different from photos. So the single image for one frame, you don't really notice it in the video, but it looks nice in the Instagram feed. And I'm going to create a new bin just for photos. And I'm going to go ahead and import a photo of the recipe into that bin. Now when I drag it over, I'm going to drag it onto V3 because I don't have anything on that track. And then just, you can either drag it down or control click and tell it to last one frame. Now you can see the photo is bigger than my sequence size, so I'm going into effects and I'm just going to adjust the scale until I like how it looks. Now if I play it, that barely even registers and it's there just for Instagram. Again, up arrow, left arrow, O to set the out point. And now I'm going to export these videos. So to export, I click on it and press Command M to add it to my queue in Media Encoder. If you did not want to use quick keys, you could go to File, Export Media. And I'm going to do the same for the Facebook and Instagram versions. Now if we jump over to Media Encoder, I have all my videos in the queue here. I have a few presets set up for different kinds of videos, but essentially down here at the bottom, this YouTube 1080p, because that is what I recorded in, I'm going to drag over onto the 16:9 version. And over here under output file, I'm just going to tell it where I want it to save. For the square versions, I have basically the same thing set up. It's a YouTube 1080p, but I have set it up so that it knows that it's 1080 by 1080 square. If you didn't have a preset, you would just click on it and adjust it in here. Now we're all ready to press this play button to start the queue, and once it's done encoding, we will go back and import the Facebook version back into our project for use in our tall video pin. Okay, let's jump back over to Premiere where we will import, where I will create a new bin for the exported video. Import that by pressing Command I. And you could bring any video in here, it doesn't really matter, but the square one for Facebook is what I like best. And I have my tall video pin template set up. If you'd like to know more about how I use tall video pins and why I do them the way I do, you can go back and watch my video on how to create video pins. I'm going to separate these, just unlink them and drag this up to V2. And then I'm going to go back and grab that photo that I brought and drop it in on V1. Then we need to go to the effects panel. I'm going to click on this video and move it to 540 by 540 so it sits on top. And then just like we did with the Instagram sequence, I'm going to adjust this so it's right where I want it. And now we have a video on top and a photo on the bottom. Back to the editing panel. Up arrow, left arrow, O to set the out point. And click on this, Command M to export, and we will do it just like we did the other videos. For tall video pins, I have a template set up. Every time I set it up to 1080 by 2160, it reverts it back down to this frame size, so I don't think it makes a huge difference. They always upload just fine to Pinterest for me, they look fine. And this one usually goes pretty quick because it's mostly an already encoded video and a photo. That's pretty much it. We now have 4 versions of this video ready to go. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. This is my process again. Your process might look different, and that's okay. That's it, guys. That is how I edit a recipe video from start to finish. I know it's a lot. Thank you so much for sticking in there. If you watched the whole thing, I applaud you and your desire to learn. If you have any questions, definitely let me know in the comments or head over to the Facebook group, which I've linked down below, and we can chat there. I want to help you through this. If you're new to video editing or you just want to improve your skills, let's do it together. I'm here every Tuesday with another tip. One way you can help me is by giving this video a thumbs up so other people can find it, and hitting subscribe so you never miss another video. I'll be back next week. See ya.